Yerp, the Spurp, back with another episode of Horror Never Dies. This is season two, episode two, the sequels of horror. Let me let my um homie in real quick. What up, Rashad?
Yo, what's good, fam?
Yep. We back with another episode. The premiere did really well. It's sitting at like 140 views. I'm happy about that.
Nice.
Much better than season one's premiere. So if we can keep that going, that's good. I did, and I just hate when I set a stream date and life shit gets in the way, like last minute shit, whether it be work or just somebody wanted you to do something. It's just, oh my god.
Hey, that sounds all too familiar, bro. I know what that's
Yeah, I was
like.
just like, yeah, because I wanted to start this bitch on time, but better late than never. Fuck it, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, like I introduced in the first episode of the season, Horror Never Dies recommendations. We're talking about sequels. I just came up with some random ones right here. Terrifier 2, Doctor Sleep, Evil Dead 2, Halloween 2. I feel like
Mm.
these are just random ones I thought of that are just really solid that I recommend. If you haven't seen any of these, definitely check them out. I know a lot of people probably haven't seen Doctor Sleep. I would really highly recommend checking that out if you're a fan of The Shining and just the shining aspect of things. Like they expand on that a lot more in Doctor Sleep, than they do in The Shining, the actual movie.
I
Um,
heard that. Yeah, I heard it sticks more to the lore of the book and, like you said, The Shining itself as opposed to the original movie.
you
Because
never
didn't
watched it?
nah, I've never seen it, and
Oh
Q
man,
Q tried to put me on to it, and I just never got around to it.
yeah, you gotta get hip to that though, because that joint's pretty fucking dark too. Like that kind of pushes some boundaries and stuff like that. Obviously Terrifier 2, I'm always gonna recommend that. Like I don't care if you're like new to horror, been around, you know what I'm saying, you like gore or just anything, I'm always gonna recommend Terrifier 2, man. Like I've probably seen Terrifier 2 probably like 10 times at this point in my lifetime.
Damn.
So you know what I'm saying. So Halloween 2, obviously, you know what I'm saying, it's setting in a hospital and all that shit's creepy as hell. There's plenty of other sequels out there as well. Not just like number twos and stuff like that, but you got like, I would recommend checking out the X trilogy and stuff like that. X and Maxine are really good sequels to Pearl and whatnot. Um, you know what I'm saying? You can go through um the plethora of different slasher movies, of course. What are some of your horror sequel recommendations you could
First one comes to mind is Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors.
mm,
That's my favorite Elm Street sequel. One of my favorite sequels of all time. I say that one. I say Terrifier 2, of course. I will put that in there. Psycho 2, I think, is a very underrated sequel. I think in a lot of ways, it's maybe controversial. I think in a lot of ways, Psycho 2, I prefer it over the first one. And the first one's considered a Hitchcock classic, but I love Psycho 2. And hmm, yeah, those are the
mm.
only ones I can really that's really comes to mind. Oh, and does Predator 2 count as a horror sequel?
Yeah, I would count that. You got can't Aliens would be a horror sequel too as well. So
Yes, well, I'll put them both in there. Predator 2 and Aliens. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
all right. Even most recently, the most recent sequel, you know what I'm saying, Alien Romulus. That's worth checking out. So that's some freaky ass shit in there, bro. That whole
Yeah.
ending and shit with the that shit is just that child only got a face only a mother could love. You know what I'm saying? So. That's pretty much the recommendations I would put out there as well. You know what I'm saying? Just to kind of break the ice, because we're gonna mostly be talking about just sequels of things, and and the next thing I wanted to kind of talk about, we'll see where this goes, is horror movie sequels that you would like to see.
Ooh,
For me, like I said, like I got Trick or Treat 2, even though that's been in like development forever. We should have been gotten like a third or fourth Trick or Treat by now. Fantastic. That's number one on my list. Um, I'm kind of upset we never got a sequel to the Friday the 13th '09 version. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Because that was actually pretty decent. I like rewatched that not too long ago. I was like, yeah. Besides it just being super fucking dark in a lot of places, like I could see it'd been dope to see like a sequel for sure.
So is the reason the sequel never happened to that because of the whole legal thing? Is that when that whole legal thing started with
Right.
Jason?
It's beyond me. Like I have no idea
Uh,
um what's going on with that, but like I said, eventually they'll get the shit right with Friday the 13th and also Nightmare on Elm Street. Those like seem like the two slasher IPs that like people have the most difficult with just making a movie. You know what I'm saying? It's
right.
weird. Long legs, because the ending kind of left it open ended, so they can continue that, or we can get something that takes place within that universe, because he's been doing that for like what 30 years. So it's like there's a bunch of stories that you can kind of tell in that universe. Better
Mhm.
watch out. Super, super, super duper underrated holiday horror movie. It's on Tubi. Go watch it. You'll see why I want to see a sequel from this. Um, but there's plenty of sequels. What are some sequels that you want to see, would like to see, or movies that you think deserve?
You know what? It's an old movie, but I always wanted to see a sequel to Rawhead Rex. I
Mm,
don't know if you ever seen that one.
nah.
Because yeah, it ended on a cliffhanger, and for whatever reason, they never made a sequel to that movie, Rawhead Rex. I definitely would love to see a part two of that.
Mm.
Um, what's another one? Who? Trick or Treat, definitely. Like when I saw that picture, I said, yeah, definitely need a Trick or Treat sequel. We need that Friday the 13th. We need that back. Whew. The Howling. I would like to see the Howling come back.
Oh, now we don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we were just talking about in the previous episode about werewolf movies, and I feel like we are going to start to see like a werewolf resurgence in
Hmm.
some form or fashion, because we had the Beast Within, and then Blumhouse is doing a Wolfman movie,
Right.
and maybe Universal will probably try to do their monster universe again, because I know Universal's doing the whole Epic Park, whatever and whatnot. So it's like maybe they want to kind of test the waters with the park before kind of getting into more of the monster universe type of things. But what up, Terrence?
What's up,
Hello, Perp.
T?
Hello, Rashad.
What's
What up?
up,
What up?
Chief?
Yep.
So I want to ask you, Terrence, what are some horror sequels you would recommend off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, uh, I guess Halloween 2.
Yeah,
Should I go into why, or just you want me to just state them
you could
off
you
just
could do
quick?
it however you want to break it down.
Halloween 2, I would say, because the first one to me is one of the best horror movies ever made from a writing standpoint and what they were able to do with the camera and how they utilized the music to enhance all of the sequences.
Hmm.
And for Halloween 2, they did all that, but times four. And I feel that when it comes to increasing in the intensity of an original concept, that Halloween 2 did that better than most horror films. And
Okay.
then after that, I would say Saw 2. So so when it comes to Saw, it's a certain type of horror film because there are differences within the horror genre. And I feel that a lot of humans that don't watch horror movies, they don't understand that they're not all the same. And I always try to get them to look at what they do watch and point out the differences there. And that's kind of the same with horror, that you have these different areas. So like with Saw 2, the first movie I felt was just amazing, just in the way that the movie progressed and how we were focused on just a couple of characters and that surprise ending. But then with number two, now that we know what's going on with Jigsaw, we just kind of dive into it even more, and everything becomes infinitely more sinister. and seeing all the different traps and how humans respond to it. I feel like for humans that are claustrophobic or that have a sense of paranoia or regret, it can really tug on those emotions if they watch something like
Right.
Saw too.
Mhm.
And
Speak,
then go ahead.
Speaking of Saw, before you keep going, that's a movie franchise. I don't feel like it needed to be a franchise. I just feel like if they would have just stuck with that first Saw and just left it like that,
Yeah.
I feel like it'd have a crazier impact. But continue.
Okay, well, with that said, I think that the franchise overall is pretty good, but the thing is that with the sequels, it just becomes more about the traps as to where the
Hmm.
first four are really strong with its storytelling, and that's kind of how I would direct humans and let them know that the
Makes
first
sense.
handful you'll get some storytelling, but after that I would ask them, how do you feel about the aspects of the traps and how humans have to fight to survive? So if they like that, then I would tell them to continue because that's essentially what you get with, maybe a few surprises here and there if you've been watching all the films. Like, oh, look, is that character? Or like, oh, how the hell did that happen? But, that's kind of how I would direct them. Right. So,
It makes
um,
sense. Yeah.
and then
But
after
you know what?
that, but
Oh,
now,
go ahead.
mind you, I'm just going off the top of the head because there's like countless horror films and stuff. So, Scream 2 would be another one.
Mm,
Um, I love the fact that Scream 1 saved the horror film franchise when it was practically dead at that point. Like I remember that when I was a kid, and it's because they kept putting out a lot of trash sequels to establish things, and they overall lost their creativity. And with Scream, it just revitalized that. And then because of that, we got a bunch of other cool stuff that followed. And the concept for the first movie of like taking the horror film genre and turning it on its head, but then you being able to follow a story that allows you to participate in you trying to jump ahead of the plot and figure out who the killer is and the motivations and that kind of thing. And you get that reveal that there are multiple killers and not just one. It was like, that's a great concept. You can do a lot with that in the sequel, which brings me to the point of Scream 2. And I was just like, now this is what I'm talking about. You take, what someone loved about that first film, you thought that was cool. So here's something else. You get similar story beats, but it's like once you watch number two, you understand why it's a franchise and what you can do to keep the audience invested because there's a participation factor that you don't have with
right.
most horror movies. You just kind of watch
Hmm.
them,
And
right? So,
and that's what I really appreciate about the Scream movies. And like I didn't get like I've always liked the Scream movies like when I was younger, but like I didn't really grow that appreciation until I saw four. And then I just kind of something clicked with me and just like, okay, now I understand. Now that I'm kind of older, seeing a much more movies and stuff, like I understand like what Scream is trying to do, and I have a lot more of appreciation for it now, in current day and stuff like that. And like you said, like when you have a story that you allows you to participate, like the audience can kind of like, guess certain things, or what I'm saying, or follow certain tropes, or you know break certain rules, or just follow certain things. It's very meta and stuff. It makes it more engaging for the audience. And
right,
I would
right.
I would definitely agree with Scream.
Well, you know what? I think I guess I have a hot take on both of these, and I ain't trying to be that against the grain, nigga. But I feel like Scream and Saw had no business being franchises just because Scream 1 was like lightning in a bottle. Like Terrence said, it revived the horror franchise. It took it into a new direction because it was like one of the first meta horror movies, besides New Nightmare, which I think is one of the first
Mm,
meta horror movies. But Scream took it to another level. So when they did 2, it was basically just a copy and paste of 1. You know what I'm saying? So that shock factor is no longer there, similar to Saw and Saw 2. When I first saw the first Saw, I don't know about y'all, but my stomach was in knots by the end of that first Saw movie. Knots. Like the
Um,
way that had the most shocking ending I've ever seen in a movie at that point where I thought about it all day. The next day, the day after that, like I'm telling people, yo, you got to see this movie. But then after that, it's okay. We've seen this before. We've been here before. And so after I think the second or third Saw movie, I kind of checked out. So with a movie like Saw and a movie like Scream, you only need one movie because you can only get that reaction one time. And after that, everything else becomes kind of, repetitive. As
Well, I mean,
opposed
okay.
to, real quick, as opposed to like a Nightmare on Elm Street, Lightning in a Bottle, but yet it's a movie about a man who terrorizes kids in their dreams. There's endless possibilities you can go with that as far as dream sequences that terrorizes these kids. But like Saw and Scream is like, nah, that one time, and after that it becomes like, okay, I've been here before, deja vu.
Well, okay. So when it comes to these horror films, to be fair, the majority of them don't need sequels. But from a business aspect, you give the audience what they want. So if they want more, then you give them more. But the trick is to make sure that there's a certain quality to it and that there's a certain consistency and that expectations are met. So that way they would come back. So if they don't come back or there's a lack of care or popularity, regardless of the quality of the product, in some way you have failed your audience because they don't care. And you
Yeah,
need
well,
them to
and
care, otherwise your products don't make money. So Saw and Scream, at least when they first started, more so Scream than Saw. Like a Scream is still like pretty hot. Saw is like a yearly thing and it's like fun, but it doesn't have the same level of intensity with its storytelling like what you would have with any given Scream movie, minus the third Scream. But I think that when it comes to Saw 2 and Scream 2, they did what a lot of sequels fail to do, which is keep that same like energy, like, oh, this is cool because it's similar to the first. There's too often where the sequels detract and they become so wild that the audience stops liking it because you
Yeah.
have got them to believe like, oh, okay, so we gonna get some more of this, and then you go to left field and you kill your franchise either quickly or slowly with each installment, which is what you don't want to do.
To your point, Terrence, because like I was saying that's why I said like the difference between like Saw and Scream is Scream their movies are a little bit more spread out. Like their sequels are a little bit more spread out. Where Saw we were getting like Saw movies like every fucking year,
Right.
and you
Right.
didn't have no time to let the franchise kind of breathe. And that's why I feel like regardless of how people feel about 5 and 6, like Scream 5 and 6. I still think that, you know, when 7, 8, 9 come out, like they'll still feel kind of fresh. Like, now they're starting to kind of pump them out a little bit quicker, but I still think they have a good amount of time in between movies and stuff like that to, you know,
Right.
let
And
their
right. And like everyone has their favorite franchise or in the horror genre, and there's going to be some biasness, but I don't like to do that. It's like I do have ones that I like, but I like to focus on what the movie did, how it compares to the rest, and the business side of it, which is important. Like, and a lot of humans don't do that. And to me, regardless of what these directors and writers say, they want their shit to make money. That's the whole point. Because if you don't make money, then you don't exist. You need the fans. That's why it blows my mind when they don't respect the fans or when they do stuff that the fans don't like and that there's no foreseeable course correction. It just doesn't make any logical sense.
Well, also Terrence too, to go back to what you said earlier about how it like the Saw and Scream movies, how they took from the original and took like what was good about it, what people liked about it, and kept it going. And it's like you're taking a gamble because like when you do try to be really different from the original, it can work, and sometimes it does work, but sometimes it falls flat on its face. And that's why I respect the Alien franchise so much, despite what you may feel about some of the sequels. But every Alien movie is totally different. Like you're not going to get the same experience with each Alien movie. So the first one, sci-fi horror. The second one, action sci-fi. The third one, I don't know what the hell, but it was different. Okay, so each one had its own flavor, but then like Scream, it's like, okay, there's a formula with these Scream movies, and they're so familiar. But by the time you get to part 4 and 5, you're like, okay, I know this is gonna happen. Okay, I know who the killer is. But then when you're like different and fresh, it's hard to do. It's very hard to do. Like I said, a lot of times it fails. But if you can't pull it off, you're a fucking genius.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
what
it's
up,
like
son?
it's like
Hey, what's up? I saw the best horror movie this year, The Crow. Oh, you said horror
Oh,
movies,
I
not
thought
horrible.
I thought you were gonna say The Deliverance.
Jesus.
Oh Jesus!
Bro,
I just heard
Six
nothing
Through
but
The
bad
Crow
things
was
about.
a horror movie.
I heard nothing
Right.
but bad things about Deliverance. I was like, it has Lee Daniels attached to it. That's all I needed to know. I was just like, okay, that's just like a step above Tyler Perry. So I already know where to kind of put my mindset. I
Well,
was like, I'm not even gonna check this out.
let's just
But,
say, being that we're on the subject of sequels, Deliverance is not going to get a sequel. I'll put it that way. It shouldn't
The
get a
fact
sequel.
that Deliverance exists is a miracle. Like, that movie exists. That movie is out there. Like,
Yeah.
the fact that it happened, it should be studied by people who do film for years, because that movie psychologically traumatized me for many years.
Mm.
I feel you. Wait, let me get to my fourth one. Before I just wanted to finish that last thought off of what Rashad said. You know, like the whole when you do sequels, if they're different, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But you know, leading into the fourth one that I was going to mention, I was going to say that when I was in high school, I said in film class that the way that you counteract something that is different that might be jarring to the audience is that you present them with quality. And if it's good, you could win humans over, even if what you did initially was just like, wait a minute, this isn't like the other ones. But it's like, what if it's good though? Then how do you feel about it then? But if it's bad, it's going to make it worse that you did all these changes.
It's a huge gamble. It's a huge gamble.
Right.
It is.
Everything
Dude,
is a
my
gamble, especially
guilty
in horror.
pleasure has always been Friday the 13th. Like, I know there's Halloween stands out there. Fuck you guys, okay? I like John Carpenter as much as anybody else, but he has way better shit. My thing has always been Jason. I like the schlocky. You could give me fucking 13 of them. I will eat them up like candy. I don't need a lot. I just need dumb co-heads, a girl
Right.
being chased naked for no apparent reason, and you know, Jason doing his thing. That's it. That's all I need.
I said that in school a lot when we would talk about horror films. It's like 1 minute, you know, Jason is chasing some random chick with big titties, and then the next movie he's fighting a chick that has telekinetic powers, and then in the next movie he's in space. It's like you never know what's gonna
And
happen
I
with
was here
Jason.
for it.
Right.
I even see Jason goes to space. I still maintain to this day that film is underappreciated. You got Uber Jason. You
Mm.
got one of the greatest
Jason drives an
battles.
Uber.
No,
That should be that. No, that should be a movie. Jason drives an Uber.
Jason
Hey,
drives an
I
Uber.
would be there day
watch
one.
it only because it's Jason. Because Jason could. So the thing is, like, one of the most terrifying things that I've ever seen, like, not in the sense that I was scared, but just recognizing that it was a serious problem. There was no, like, you need to have a discussion. When Jason became Metal Jason and he realized how hacked he was when the bullets were bouncing off of him, I was like,
Mhm.
no, it is time to kill yourself. There's nothing we can do. It's all over. Like, that was just like a holy shit moment when I was younger. I was like, man, I thought Jason couldn't get any more hacked, but Metal Jason is too much. That's insane.
Imagine if they made a new Friday the 13th, Jason, whatever the fuck, right? And he
Right.
slightly talked. Would that bother people?
Yes, it would.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, deeply.
Even if it was
Like,
intimidating?
Well,
Jason
okay,
cannot speak.
when you say intimidating, you mean like a deep voice or like sinister?
Yeah, kind of
or
like a groggle or something like that. Just feel like something like he got something stuck in his throat. Pause. No pity.
Okay, so I've had that question by actually one of my teachers asked me that in 12th grade, like how would you feel if Jason started talking? And I told him I would not like it because he's just supposed to be, you know, silent, kind of dumb, but he's like a genius when it comes to killing. But at the same time, I told him if he did talk,
You
as long as it was like very few and far in between, it wouldn't bother me as much as if he just were having a conversation like how we're having right now.
Nah, but still,
I think I was gonna say I wouldn't call Jason dumb. I feel like that might be offensive because he is kind of like deformed and stuff like that. Gotta be a little PC.
But Perp, they pulled out. Okay, hold on. They pulled out his brain, and it was like a raisin is bigger than his brain, right? That's number one.
Bro was dumb. Okay, this isn't PC, folks. We have legitimate proof. I agree with T Virus on this, but
Yeah,
they
Yeah, I'm
pulled out my
joking. I'm
man's
joking.
brain. It was not that.
But I
Yep.
do feel like Jason's battle IQ is a little bit better than Michael's. He like Jason at least comes with
Bro, Michael
strategies.
can open a door though. Michael can drive.
Yo,
I've
Michael.
never seen
But
anybody like
Jason
Michael.
just says, "Oh fuck."
Drive. I'll give him
No,
that.
but Jason just says, "Oh fuck a fucking doorknob. I could just run through the shit."
through the
Right,
motherfucker,
But
right.
yeah.
that's not.
Jason
But that's
is
not
more hacked because
intelligence.
he's the reason why Jason is more hacked, like I told humans, is simple. Number one, he already died. He was murdered as a kid. And then he somehow went to hell, came out of hell, possessed somebody, got back to his original body, and got more powerful. So
So
Michael
he's
Myers,
Jesus. So he's Jesus.
right, like if
I
Yeah,
Jesus
say
zombie
went
more
down
Jesus.
a dark path and learned how to murder people, I guess. Like, it's just- don't forget
But
that he's when he was a kid, when he got murdered and came back to life, he also got to his early 20s and got buff, and then he stopped developing. Like Jason is hacked.
Yeah, he's
all
just like,
them,
yo,
all
I
them
got
rabbits,
this
all
super
them rabbits
serum.
and shit he was eating. Yeah, all
Oh,
that.
and
Nah,
I
then
don't know
yo,
what.
think
I
about
got
it.
the best gem in the woods. How many people here can get that? I don't even think. I don't know if T
No,
he
I'm
Virus
left
telling
can
you, man,
get
trees.
that
He
one.
left trees. He left
no,
trees.
it's the woods, man. I'm telling you, like people down here in the South are way stronger than people up north. Why? Because they got that down home Southern food, man. They got them wild
Right.
rabbits and shit, and fucking
I've
wild squirrels
never
and
ate.
possums and coons.
I've never eaten food that's given me the strength to like kill a bunch of people like simultaneously with a fire
Hey,
poker. But
you know what? Like Jason, he was mad, and he had the right to be mad. Like I can tell you from
Right.
experience, as someone that experienced rage for continuous years, like that's a powerful thing if you know how to channel it. Like there is a lot of truth to that. So just saying.
Yeah, like
But bottom line,
Jason is very justified in what he's doing because it's like he's honestly like really the hero in his own story. He's
Right,
getting revenge for what they done to him, and not only him, his mom.
right?
right.
but here's
Bottom line is Jason should never speak. That's the equivalent of what they did with Kane in WWE. Kane was more menacing when he
Yeah,
never spoke.
he lost all his aura once he
He
started talking.
lost. Yeah, well, once they took the mask off and they let him speak, I'm like, no, you just took away the whole menace of Kane. Jason speaks with his hands. He speaks with his kills. Okay, that's
Yeah.
how
Or
Jason.
when he
I
turns his
guess to
head
your
to the
point.
side. Yeah.
I guess to your point, because like it would be weird for Art to start talking. Like I'm like,
Right.
motherfucker, you can talk the whole time. Like,
Wait, Perp, you know what? If Art started talking, I think that would make it even creepier just because it's like, wait a minute, like you said, you could talk the whole time. And I'm like, I
mm,
could only imagine the crazy shit that he would be saying to somebody though. Like, so
it kind
yeah.
of reminds me. I know a lot of people haven't watched Attack on Titan, but like when they show the Beast Titan, because like from the from all the this is like season 2, but like up until this point, you've never heard a Titan talk. They just they're just mindless, and then like here comes this Beast Titan. He comes down, sits down, pops down, and then he's like human, and he just starts talking and shit, and just what I'm saying, and it freaks this dude out and whatnot. That shit was dope when first like had that. I was like, oh shit, a Titan that could talk and stuff, and he's
Bro,
intelligent and
here's the
stuff.
thing. You want Jason to talk. This is what I will accept. If Jason
Mm.
talks and he is voiced by Willem Dafoe, fucking win. Cause that's even
Or no, or he'll say the first his first words will be "mommy."
I was just
Oh
about
bro,
to say
no,
that
come
if
on.
you have
Why
him
would you?
say
Why would you?
if you have him say mom or I'm sorry mom or something like that, I'm like, okay, I can feel that. But he can't
Wait
be
a minute.
having full
Pamela.
blown sentences.
I thought something. Jason did speak. He
When?
did speak in Jason Takes Manhattan right before the sewer water took him over. He was like, "Mommy, "Mommy, please don't let me drown." He was
Oh, you
speaking in
talking
the
about
kid's voice.
okay, but you talking about when he like kind of changed into a kid, like the I get you, but I'm talking about more like when he's Jason with the mask and
Okay,
he's
so that doesn't count.
Nah.
not really, because it's like
No,
that
that
was like
never
a kind
happened
of
in my mind. That didn't
yeah, that was
happen.
kind of like a what the fuck, like it's
Yeah.
almost like Jason was so powerful that he had to like kill himself kind of by turning into a weaker version of himself. Like that was kind of weird, but
I remember going to see that in the theaters as a kid, and I remember people started booing when that happened. Like Jason Takes Manhattan. Jason Takes Manhattan has like the coolest poster in the world. Like even the premise, Jason Takes Manhattan. Damn, that's gonna be crazy.
right.
He doesn't go to Manhattan until like the third act of the movie, and it doesn't.
And then he swam, right? Like the fact that he like
Yeah.
he
That's
literally jumped in
hilarious.
the water and then he came out.
That's
I was like,
hilarious.
that is crazy.
There's some
Yeah.
continuity issues with that. Like when we get to Freddy versus Jason, it's just like, then how the fuck are you? How did you drown? And why are you afraid of
Yeah.
Right,
water?
but it just that's why it was scary because it was like this dude literally swam and he got out. I was like, there's no more like, oh, we're safe
Michael
now
Phelps.
because if
Right.
he's mad enough, then I guess he can do it. But it seems that based upon the franchise, that ordinarily he's really terrified of water. But I guess those damn kids pissed him off so much that he just was like, "Fuck it, I'm
Bro
gonna
was like,
swim with
"Oh,
you."
you guys." He like, "You guys, I'm so angry right now. I'm gonna
He
conquer my
probably he
own
probably
fear."
paced he probably paced back and forth, trying to decide, should I step into this water or not? Should I
Right.
go over there? Like, and it's like Crystal Lake is like right there in Manhattan. Like, I don't know how he got there, but you know.
Oh yeah, wait, yeah, that's another good point. Yeah, because Jason's afraid of water. So if he's so afraid of
Right.
water, how the fuck did he swim away from Crystal Lake to Manhattan?
Oh, it was that
Because
ridiculous.
he
Oh,
was
I
mad,
remember it
Rashad.
like
I'm
it was
telling you.
yesterday. It was that ridiculous fucking boat thing. He was on a boat for like an hour of the movie, and then the last
Right.
10, 15 minutes was actually shot in New York. And actual funny story, because I'm a big Jason super fan. But funny story, they actually couldn't get enough time to shoot in New York. So why half of it's shot in Camp Crystal Lake and on a boat is because they couldn't get the permissions till last minute. So all that shit in New York was actually just like slapstick in there. They were
It
actually
was
supposed
funny
to
That's
though.
shoot the
cool.
whole
That's
thing
cool.
in New York. It was like all supposed to take place there. And then some fucking idiot on the production company didn't think like, hey,
That-
we need actual permission
Permits,
to
yeah.
shoot in the city.
and as soon as he touched down, bro, he was acting like he was Debo, kicking people's like boombox and shit like that.
Did you see
I
the
wish
one
that
where he
was
was
right.
on a billboard?
I wish they had Radio Raheem in this, and like that was the like
Oh,
his
Oh
boombox.
my
That
God, he would have
that'd be
died.
great.
Like I could only imagine the stuff he would
that
have
would
been
have
saying to
been
Jason. Like, "Hey man, you need to chill out."
Bro, like, look, I don't care what
D,
anybody
motherfucker,
says.
D.
I don't care what anybody tells me. The best scene, the most informative scene in my youth, and the most memorable thing was when that dude tried to box him, and
Yeah.
I said to myself, I was like, "Oh, this shit is not gonna go well." And then he was actually getting him. I was like, "All right, he's good." And he did
But
that
that's
one
the thing
uppercut.
though.
He did that one
God,
uppercut.
but
I
that's
was
the
like,
thing though. Like we saw what happened. Like the fact that he was hitting him, he was moving back. But you know from a martial arts standpoint, Zod, that if you're hitting somebody, sure they're moving back, but if there don't seem to be any reactions of damage,
"Do
it's
it,
time to
yep."
leave.
Man,
Bro,
listen,
Yeah, Tony.
I tell you what, the kind of fighter I am. If I hit you about 3 or 4 times and you don't budge, I'm gonna hug you and try to be your friend. I'm gonna be like, "Hey, man, I'm
I'm
gonna say
sorry,
Jesus
bro.
has a call in your life,
I
man."
was upset. I was a little upset. I'm
I was
sorry. I
upset.
had to let it out. I
You
had a
saw
bad
how
day at
Jason
work.
was looking at him though, right? He was like, "So you really thought you was gonna win this?" He was like, "Here, let me show you how a real punch is," and his head just damn.
clean off into the dumpster, and the
So,
dumpster closed.
Tony said, "What would Michael sound like? He'd probably have a baby voice. That'd be hilarious.
No,
That'd be fucking
bro, they
hilarious. I'd
already did
cry."
it. Halloween 2, the Rob Zombie version, the uncut, because I know people say, "Oh, the Rob Zombie versions are trash." No, you're trash. Those are great
Uh-oh.
movies. I love
I don't
them.
like the
I
second
defend
one, but the
them.
first one.
And yeah, the white horse thing was fucking stupid, and his wife can't act for shit. But I will give them one thing, bro. Tell me that Michael Myers isn't the most terrifying version besides the David Gordon Green one was pretty good.
The
That
fact
dude was good.
Zod, when I saw that in the theater, like I remember
Bro!
everybody in the audience, like when he went from that little blonde kid to just being Tyler Mane, the one that plays Sabretooth and X-Men, I was like, that is fucking
Bro!
insane. He's gonna kill everybody. Like,
Like, what do you do? Let me just tell. Like, okay, on some real talk, and everybody who will watch this, you can hate me all you want for the statement, but don't tell me that you didn't watch that movie and go, you know what? I might not be vibing with the whole Rob Zombie take on this, but that fucking Jason wasn't a beast. Like, bro, that's what I'm
Michael,
talking about. Like, dude was football tackling people into
Yeah.
stuff. Like, the kill scenes were so vicious. I almost was like, bro, just kill him.
they
Just
really did
kill
that
him.
fight scene in the bathroom too. Like the fight scene with the black guy, the
Oh my
trucker, like they
god.
really broke that fucking
Yeah.
stall. Like they were really fighting. Because Rob
Bro,
Zombie said, you guys should, go all out, and they did it.
dude,
Yeah,
Well,
that's
here's
great. But even speaking of motherfuckers running and shit, like when that's why I liked about one aspect I liked about Jason in the 2009. The motherfucker was sprinting.
he was running. Yeah, Jason. He
dude,
was
that's I
jet.
love the
Damn,
2000. The Michael
Yeah,
He was
he was
sprinting,
jetting.
bro.
the Michael
Yeah.
Bay, like, look, you could, or Michael, was it? Yeah, it was Michael Bay, or at least his company. He didn't fucking shoot it, but whatever. Dude understood. There is nothing more terrifying than a dude who looks like a lineman running and chasing you. And
Mhm.
I think people really underestimate how good that Jason movie was. It was
That
damn.
was dope.
I
That
can't
movie
stand
from beginning to
that
end was
movie
damn good.
only because like I didn't like that they turned him into Rambo. Like that was my issue. I was like, man, y'all like
No,
Jason, the
but
way
it's
that he
believable though. You're telling me he wouldn't have shit, but okay, by your theory, right? You said he was brilliant when it comes to killing, or somebody in panel said it, right?
right.
So I could believe that he would have a system like that built
He
up
was
to where
God, he was actually smart in that movie. I was like, I refuse to believe that this Jason is dumb. The way he
I
set
don't
up
think
them
it was.
kills.
I
Well,
didn't take it
was
as
he was
smart.
tactical.
I
He was
took it as
tactical smart.
survival. He had
Yeah.
Yeah, he
survival.
was tactical. Okay, he was a special forces Jason. That's what he was. Like,
I'll
That
be
Navy
listen, man.
SEAL.
Yo, nah, but yo, Terrence, but hold up, Terrence. But when you live in the woods your whole life, man, and you catching squirrels and possums and shit, you can't help but to be tactical, man. Those
Yeah,
hey,
you
you know
learn
what? There's
shit
a
after a
difference
while.
between
Like
tactical
even
and
the
being a
stupidest
Green
person will
Beret.
learn to
Like
snare.
Jason was a damn
But
Green Beret.
but Terrence, that's how he trained. Like that's what Rashad said. That's how he trained. He was by catching rodents and stuff like that because they were super fast. That's how he he built up his strength. It was like on some anime shit.
I have some family that be frequenting the woods and that they hunt different creatures, but they not Jason Voorhees. Like that was just Jesus.
Like okay, like I get it. You got to suspend some disbelief, but I would say out of every iteration, and what pissed me off was that movie was supposed to get a sequel, but like, dude, and even the bait and switch, right, where you think the chick is gonna be the one who's the hero, and then they pull the rug and she gets killed. Bro, I did, and spoilers, I guess, if you didn't see the fucking 2009 film, whatever. But like, I honestly thought she was gonna be the final girl, right? Because every Jason follows the same formula where it's like, oh, the chick's gonna live. But dude, it was Jared Padalecki who's the final dude. Like they completely flipped it
See,
the
that's
other way.
another thing. I was like, this is an episode of Supernatural. Sam got mad at Dean. He went off for a day or two, and he found Jason.
Look,
Yeah, it'd be funny. That's funny. You can tie that in
here's
too.
the thing. You need to stop hating. Okay, that's Sam. And he would have found that shit. We were just missing.
And to be fair, if that were Sam, the movie would have been over in like a couple minutes because they fought everything. So that.
Yeah, they fought a fucking unicorn.
But horror movies that are like flipping things up, like that's why I like the first Terrifier. So many people hate that movie, but I was like, bro, this movie's kind of brilliant because it could have ended like a an A to B kind of slasher. But the fact that like what really put that movie over for me is when this motherfucker Art pulls out a gun. I was like, bro, I ain't never
Yeah.
seen him. Like, I ain't never seen that, bro. He's a crafty motherfucker. Like, you know what I'm saying? Even in
Art was all kinds of terrifying in that movie, man. Lived up to the
Yeah.
fucking name.
Like,
and even in even in Terrifier 2, and there's just certain things that I like picked up on, because I was like, yo, where did he get change from? I was like, oh, the dude that he killed in the opening scene, he took his change. I was
bro,
like, all right.
dude, that's some gold shit. Like, dude, like Art be doing, and I was the little dictator, bless her soul, and just so people don't fucking berate me, oh, you have your kid watch Terrifier 2, like, chill the fuck out. She's 17, and she's a fucking boss. Anyways, so
Hey, my daughter was the same age, bro. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, dude, she called her friends pussies because they wanted to go see like the new Pixar. She goes, "Nah, I'm going to see Alien Romulus with Dad."
Hey,
Right.
good father,
I
man.
mean,
Good
she
father.
is 17, so you know that makes sense. You know.
Yeah.
So we were watching Terrifier 2, and like this is like my probably like third time or fourth time watching the movie, probably more. I lost count, and I gotta say, like, the thing that makes those movies so great is the practical effects, but the feeling of that actor, the expressions he gets, where you can tell everything that he's saying without having to say it, like being a sarcastic fuck with like just taking everything and put it on the counter, or like when the lady wouldn't give him Halloween candy and you just see his face drop and he does that like switch, like, oh, this
Yeah.
bitch is gonna die. Like,
Like, give me the candy. Give
Yeah,
like,
me
that lady was
the
stupid.
candy.
She shouldn't have opened the
bro,
door when she
yeah,
saw him.
it
Like,
was candy. He
no,
was
Did she have? I couldn't remember, but did she have like one of those like little peephole things, whatever, on the door, or
yeah.
no,
no?
she had those
Can't
little
remember.
curtain things. I'm like, no. If
Yeah,
you
she could have
see
looked at
somebody
the.
like that, yeah, I'm like, no. You're not.
Yeah.
You kind of crack the door and you like, what the fuck do you want? And then it just he's
Yeah,
making all those
and
expressions. It's like, no.
she was being rude with him. That's what I'm saying. Like, no, like Art doesn't really go after people. Like, people like antagonize him first, and then he goes after them. Like,
Right.
Like I agree. Like, if you look at that movie, and maybe we're just all a bunch of sick fucks on this panel, but no, honestly,
Whoa,
look at that
whoa.
movie.
Terrence is a
90%
nice
of
young
that,
man.
90% of that, 90% of those movies, in all seriousness, Perp, I agree with you. Like, even think about the first movie. He just wanted a picture with the one chick, and then the other one had to go.
no, he
like,
was just
Photobomb.
minding his. No, he was minding his business. Like, he was just
Minding
walking
his
down,
business.
minding his business. The blonde chick was the one that was like, "Hey," I'm like,
Hold on.
"No."
No. I remember that movie. He was sitting over there. He was plotting how he was gonna snap some shit
Yeah, he
up.
wanted the other chick. Yeah, he wanted the other chick. He kept
Yeah,
looking
that
at
what
her.
I'm saying. Before they went into the restaurant, before they went into the little restaurant, and whatnot, and it was the blonde chick that was antagonizing him. He was minding his business, just walking down the street, like.
Yep. Yeah, he was.
He
He
was
would have
walking
never
down the
came in
street,
there and noticed the other girl.
And he's like,
That
"Oh,
blonde,
women."
drunk chick didn't open her mouth and say something. So
you know what the thing with Art is though. Like I have a feeling that he was gonna kill them anyway. It's just he was just
Yeah.
waiting because that's what he does. But
He likes
like
to play with his food.
from the perspective of the movie, it's like they just had to say something. I get it, but I'm like, nah, Art is evil as hell. Like he'd be making it seem like he's all innocent, gonna get you a balloon animal or something. I'm like, no.
But if you're a male, you're probably like you're not going to get as brutalized. You might lose your you know what I'm saying, your shit. But
no,
you know,
fuck
for the
that.
most part,
Dude, what he did to that dude
hold
was
on.
worse.
For the most part, like he just cuts off dudes' heads. You know what I'm saying, and fucks
Cut
them
their
up a
dick
couple
off
times.
too.
Yeah,
Bro, when he
just the tip.
and I forgot. I actually had to fast forward that because my daughter is still 17. I was like, nah.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? There's like some shit where I was like, that we don't need to share that moment. But I was thinking back on it. I was like, bro, he cut his penis off and showed it to the girl and
Just the
chilling to
tip.
the dude.
I mean, hey, it was probably. I think it was just a tip, though. I can't remember correctly. It was a
Yeah, that
certain
was the
portion
joke
of
because he
the
had the
dick,
Yeah,
but
knife
you
yeah.
that
know,
said the knife shirt that said just the tip.
But you
yeah,
know
you
what?
know.
I'm about to make this point here too, Zod, because I used to watch the Rob Zombie Halloween movies. Now you see how we just talked about Art and Jason and their motivations. This shit is real simple. With Mike, what fucked it up for me with the Rob Zombie Halloween, that first one, good kills. Your boy was menacing as Michael Myers. What fucked it up for me is that the whole origin story. Michael Myers is evil. All right, he's evil incarnate, and there's no rhyme or reason for why he does what he does. He's the devil. You know what I'm saying? And that's what made the first movie scary, was because you didn't know why he was evil. He just
Right, like
was.
Dr. Loomis said. Yeah,
Yeah, he's the shape. He's darkness, and here they give him like a whole origin story like he's Batman, and I'm like, no, that just takes away. You know what I'm
All
saying?
right, I will give
It
to
takes
you.
away from the horror of Michael Myers.
No, I'll give it to you. The first half hour, what annoys me about that is not I don't think you could have an origin story because they still imply no matter what he was evil, like he had those tendencies. I like having a realistic like he was just a serial killer and he had an inbred family that couldn't pick up on it. I like all that. What messed it up for me, I think the most, is for the love of God, Rob Zombie, bro, I respect you for it, but at the same time, stop doing it. Putting your wife in fucking movies. She is a fucking
okay,
terrible actress.
but
She's
to be
hot as
fair
shit,
though,
but she cannot act to save
but
her
to
fucking life.
to be fair, like I
Saving
told
money.
him, even my friends that went with me to see that film, I was like, this Michael is not 100% evil because he loved his mom and he loved his baby
Exactly.
sister until the
Exactly.
baby sister tried to kill him, and she's
Exactly.
still one of the dumbest characters in horror movie history.
I mean,
Thank you. So Zod, are you telling me that version, that origin story of Michael Myers is scarier than just a regular kid that's about to go trick or treating, that he just out of nowhere kills his sister? Like
for
that,
me, yeah,
that's horrifying.
I get what you're saying, but for me, yes, because it's grounded in shit that could actually, to me, the most terrifying horror at times. Like I like my fantastic, like you know, Jason ain't never gonna exist. That's a stupid premise, but I buy into it because I like the movie. But for me, the scariest is where you can look at a character and that could actually be in real life. And I think that's to me what makes that Halloween resonate with me more is that
I mean,
you
I
look at
like the new one, but to me, like what I told humans is, to me, it's worse when you can't explain why somebody is the way that they are.
That's the point I'm trying.
no,
That's the
I
point.
I
That's the point I
mean
was trying
to
to
me
make.
they still don't explain it though because I mean yeah he loved his sister but Rob Zombie
He was
dropped
getting
hints that
bullied,
he
and
was
he had a
always
horrible
disturbed.
stepdad. He never attacked his mom, and he never attacked his baby sister because they were nice to him.
Mhm.
But they still dropped hints in it where he was like when he beat the shit out of
No,
the
because
kids when
even
he
when
was
he was in
playing
the
with the animals he
institution,
still had something wrong with
no, but
him.
even when he was in the institution, when his mom went to visit him, he never attacked her a single time. And then when he got out of the institution after murdering all those humans, the first thing he did was, I gotta go get my baby sister. She's the last one I have left. This is why this dude literally dropped to his knees, took off his mask, dropped the knife, and handed her a dirty old ass picture. Like, we family. I was like,
Yeah.
when does Michael do that kind of shit?
He's evil incarnate.
But
It just didn't make sense. And similar to Freddy too, like
but
that's
here
how they fucked Freddy up in Freddy's Dead. Same thing. They gave him a whole
no
backstory. He
no
had no
that now see
backstory.
that's different. That's different. They went
How?
too far into the comedy. But no, for me, I thought that was interesting because look, we've had how many Halloween timelines, how many Jasons and stuff. At a point, you got to do something new. And this is the
John,
thing that
I agree.
aggravates
I
me
agree
with
with you. I
people.
didn't say that it wasn't interesting. I'm saying that makes him not 100% evil. If you can show love and compassion, that doesn't make you evil.
Yeah.
But
A
that I
hundred
mean,
percent evil is different.
but I mean, even in the older films, he wasn't without even the originals that everybody held. He still was not without having some kind of
He was killing
self-respect.
everybody. He wanted
He
to
was
kill
killing
his sister.
everybody.
He
Yeah.
never talked. He never did. The only
He
thing was in
he had to smoke with
Halloween.
everybody.
Yeah.
Right, and the only brief moment was in Halloween 5 when he had his niece in the coffin and she said uncle, and then he stopped, and then you see
Yeah.
a tear come down. As soon as she tried to touch his face, he went right back into 100% evil and tried to murder her. That was the only time out of all
Right.
those films that
Well,
we
but
saw any ounce of blood.
that's what I'm saying. I think what makes the Halloween to me more interesting is having death, because we've had the same stale shit for how many years. Like, I even like the David Gordon Green, even the one people hate, the last movie. I understand it.
Halloween
I think it
Ends.
was terrible writing, but I still think, like, I like those films too, because I like that. Like you guys, you get your purist. Oh, he's evil, but I get my depth with the
I want death too, but just with Michael Myers, not random
Right.
people. That's not what we went to see. I want to see Michael and Laurie.
Yeah, I
See,
mean,
death,
dog, when
death and destruction.
Dr. Loomis has those monologues where he's explaining Michael's evil, it gives you chills. Like when I looked in his eyes, all I saw was black. I saw the
But,
devil's eyes,
but
and
bro,
like that
Right.
shit
you're
gives
never
you
gonna
chills,
replace
man.
Donald Pleasance though. Like that performance. If
Right,
anything,
right.
he's the standout in those movies.
Well,
100%.
sure, but it's like that only works because of the writing and the direction. Because you can
Mhm.
have a quality actor, but if they have dog shit to work with, it won't matter. It has to be a balance.
The Crow. Bill Skarsgård, you fucking
Yeah,
agent.
the crow.
Bill,
Oh
I
shit!
And
don't
Wait,
know who your agent
Kurt.
is. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
recently seen this movie and it fucking scarred me. If
it's
you want to
okay,
see a
man.
great horror movie, go see that. You can see how fucking horrible that movie is. Oh
I,
my god.
Well, what was you gonna say, Terrence?
I forgot to mention the fourth one, like, because I think only said three, because we were
Mhm.
having such a good conversation. I think I forgot to mention the fourth one.
What's the
You
fourth
know,
one?
like how you were asking me about the choices for
Yeah.
On
the
top
sequel.
sequels.
Yeah. Damn, what was I thinking of for? Oh, Child's Play 2 was the other one
Oh,
that I
yeah,
came up
yeah.
with on top of my
A
head,
lot of people
right?
are saying that like that's the definitive best sequel. You know, I personally I still have a soft spot for Child's Play 3. I don't know what it is about like that whole
Remont's on the
scene
same wavelength.
where he gets chopped up and stuff, that ending and stuff. I just really
Mhm.
like that, or just the fact that I just there's
I
something about Child's Play 3 I really like there.
So okay, so before I get into why, I would say two, just going off of that point real quick that you made, Perp, I do like three. The only movie that I don't like of Chucky in terms of the original franchise would be Seed of Chucky, but I like all the
Okay.
other ones.
I thought you would
So
say Bride of Chucky. I was about to leave the stream, bro. If you said Bride of Chucky, I was gonna leave.
no.
Bride Chucky's alright though.
No, Bride of
I'm,
Chucky is
that's my
cool
favorite.
because
That's my
it's still
personal
in
favorite
line with the
sequel.
rest of them, but it's just Seed.
Mm.
It just was stupid.
Yeah,
But
she was dumb.
Yeah.
I like all the other ones, Curse, Cult, and even the series and all that. Like all that shit is dope. I just didn't like Seed of Chucky.
I like
Um,
2019. 2019's Child's Play was better than Megan.
Man, fuck
okay, so
that movie.
No,
okay, so quick.
I'm gonna have to hard disagree. At least Megan had fun when it's premised. Like for me, I like the fact that the director, you could
But the
feel,
kills is ass, bro. The kills is ass. It's PG-13. What are you gonna say,
Right,
Terrence?
right. Okay, so
why
real
don't you
quick on
agree?
that point before I go back to Child's Play too. All right, so with the newer one that they did away from the main franchise, as a movie, I didn't think it was terrible. I just personally don't like Chucky like that, but the movie itself as a movie is fine. But with Child's Play 2, when I saw it as a kid, it was introduced to me by my cousins. We used to watch everything horror all the time. We would binge watch whole franchises and stuff like that over the weekends. And with the first one, you just that whole premise I thought was great. And with the second one, it's like, okay, the boy Andy, he's going into foster care and stuff, and it's just the idea of being separated from your mother after dealing with something that horrific, and knowing that the humans around you, they're not going to believe you. You're a kid. They're like, you're just making stuff up. And to have Chucky come back and then come after him, I thought was really effective. That It worked well for the story, and it also played on the fears that humans have of dolls. So that's why I highly recommend that as a sequel.
Okay, okay. Um, before we start to like kind of wrap things up, I want to
Wait,
get.
wait, wait,
Uh,
whoa! I didn't get to say my 4 like sequels.
no, I'm
Bro.
saying
What the
before,
ahead.
fuck?
like, nah, but I'm saying, but before I'm saying before we get to wrapping up, like, we're gonna wrap up in like 15 minutes, but Zod, you could say like what horror sequels would you recommend? And then after that, I want to ask Terrence and Zod once again, like what are some sequels that you wish were made, but starting with just the sequels that you would recommend.
Okay, so some sequels I would recommend. To Razad's point, actually, I would disagree with Psycho 2 and say Psycho 3. I think it's highly underrated, and it's
Nah,
a
3
great
was
cap
dope.
You
off.
got
Nah, 3
yeah,
was
Yeah,
yeah,
dope.
you
for
like 3, right?
Yeah,
I
nah,
think
3 was
3 to
dope.
me is more like, folks, if you've never seen Psycho 3, it is surprisingly
Hmm.
good.
Yeah,
Also,
it's a good movie. It is.
Yeah, 3 was dope.
oh yeah, it's very underrated. Alien Romulus, which is probably going to be on my top 10 horror movies. I don't know where yet because Longlegs exists, and y'all know how I feel about Nick Cage. But I gotta say, like, Alien Romulus, if you haven't seen it, please support this movie because for me, it was everything that I wanted as an Alien fan for fucking years. And
Word.
I think they knocked it out of the park. Not in every aspect, but in 90% of what I
For the
wanted to
most
see.
part,
Like
yeah.
it
they
was
just
everything
they
I
bring the
wanted.
franchise back to the basics. That's why I like that. That's why I like it better.
Hmm.
Yes, it was truly back to the basics. So like Alien Romulus. For sequels, I would say anything Friday the 13th. You can't go wrong. Um, I like. I would recommend for Freddy New Nightmare. It's probably. I would actually probably put that as a contender with the original itself,
You even
just
put
because you
over
have
Dream
to.
Warriors?
I mean, I like Dream Warriors too, but honestly, I like New Nightmare more, and I'll tell you why. Because New Nightmare was the template for Scream, and you could see that with the way he was playing with the. It was ahead of its time because he was playing around with the tropes and using the tropes as like funny commentary and stuff. That was all in New Nightmare.
I told Rashad about that, Zod, that like I wasn't a fan of any of Freddy's films after the first one, even though they all had some really cool moments in them. But New Nightmare, from a writing standpoint, I was like, holy shit. Like, damn.
Dude,
Nah,
New
I mean,
Nightmare
don't get
was
me wrong. Don't get me wrong. New
brilliant.
Nightmare is tight, but come on, can't name something from New Nightmare that tops Welcome to Primetime, bitch. You know what I'm saying? Name something
The
from New
movie.
Nightmare.
The
Name
quotables,
something.
yeah.
Name
Dream
something from
Warriors
New
had the
Nightmare.
quotables.
Rashad,
They had the
okay,
You know what I'm
quotables.
saying? Name something from
as
New Nightmare that tops What a Rush. You know,
okay, but
sorry, kid. I don't believe
that
in fairy tales.
that scene is cool. I feel you, Rashad, but I'm just saying that, like, even the cinematography on the scene when our main character, when she's talking to her father, right? Remember, like, towards the end, and you see the bed smoking, and then they're playing that music, and like the sheets are
Oh,
slowly
it's about with
rising.
Nancy and
Right,
Pop.
right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then it's playing that music, and then the camera's like going in closer on the sheets, and you see the claws come out, and then he rips it apart. He steps out of the bed, and the music is playing, and then they focus on the wall, and then you see the shadow, and then all of a sudden the claws get right up on the camera to scare the shit out of you. Then it pans back out, and then you can see all of Freddy. And I was just like, that scene is so well realized that if I were teaching a class of horror, that would be one of the scenes that we go over when I talk about what you need to make a great horror film.
All
Like
right,
like
okay, well,
and Rashad, don't get me
yeah.
wrong. I love Dream Warriors. It has a killer ass soundtrack. Like you said, many quotables, but for me, I like. Yeah, welcome to my world, bitch. Yeah. Uh, I I I, I like the deconstruction, and when he wrote that too, there was a cynicism because they had basically like drained the franchise. He wasn't even involved with those other ones, even Dream Warriors. He wasn't the director or writer for those.
Are you talking about
It
Wes
was like
Craven?
they took his baby and they just like squeezed all they could get out of it. And this was his like fuck you to New Line and everybody who had fucked him over. And I think it made for a personal story, a tighter story. We finally got some closure for Nancy's story, who is like top tier final girl for me.
Okay,
But
so
yeah, I
is
mean,
it fair to say this? Okay, New Nightmare is probably the best film of the franchise. You know, best horror film. Psychologically, it's a better psychological horror film. But if you talk about like pure slasher, fun movie that you see with the crowd and everybody, come on, Dream Warriors kicks New Nightmare's ass on that, and I know because I seen both of them with a crowd. And
Okay, here, here.
when I saw New Nightmare with a bunch of teenagers like myself, we all thought it was whack because there was like no really good kills in there. You know, you didn't see a whole lot of Freddy, but you watch Dream Warriors with a whole crowd. Everybody's having fun. You leave the theater
I,
feeling like, damn, that was a good ass slasher movie. So as
Well,
a
that
slasher film, Dream Warriors works better, but as I guess a psychological horror film,
I
New Nightmare works
mm,
better. Is that
I
a fair assessment?
have to be honest, Rashad. So, I didn't get to see that in the theater, right? So, like for
Yeah, I'm
me,
old. I'm old.
I can only judge off of my experience with watching it, and
Okay.
then being fair and really comparing and contrasting, outside of what I prefer. So, I do believe that when you talk about creativity and the visuals from the whole franchise, there's a lot of dope things. It's just that storytelling, like the first movie, really hit with New Nightmare. But like you said, with the stuff you mentioned, that does have some weight too. So I'm not going to discount that.
I think this is what it comes down to, though. This is where you could tell you got two good sequels here because we're battling it, and
Mhm.
really that's where it comes down to preference at the end of the day. Because for me, I would prefer New Nightmare, but
dude,
I'm not gonna skip Dream Warriors either. Like if I'm having a marathon, oh yeah, Dream Warriors is going in
Oh,
there.
well, I
Hell,
mean
I even like
that's
the later
different
ones,
if you're
did
having a
y'all
Five Nights at
did
Freddy's
marathon.
Dead.
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
y'all seen Dylan's New Nightmare, like the continuation of New Nightmare?
No, I haven't heard
No,
of that.
Wait,
I
What
there's a
this is the short film that Dave McRae was doing. Dave McRae's as Freddy and stuff like that. Like you should just go look it up. The guys from the horror show and stuff, they Cecil Lair and all of them, they made that. It's called Dylan's New Nightmare and stuff. Part one's out right now, and I think part two is coming very soon.
I
But
never
that
even
was
heard
pretty
of it.
dope. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
pretty dope. Yeah.
wait
and let me see. I got there three.
wait
Oh,
wait Zah,
uh,
go ahead. Did you finish your sequels and
and the
stuff?
last one I'd have to say is the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I have a hot take on this. Like the not the newish ones with Jessica Biel, that
Oh,
series
the
was
'03 one. I was thinking like you were thinking about the
yeah, the
2002.
03, not that shit show on Netflix. The
God.
the 03 to me, and the movies that came after that, like the trilogy of those movies, to me, I would say are better than the original. And now
Yeah,
I hear from reports.
me. For like just to kind of like double down on that is like I think the '03 Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the 2013 Evil Dead are like those are like
Yeah,
perfect remix.
Mhm.
Okay,
exactly.
I wouldn't say that old 3 is better than the original, but what I will say in all fairness is that it's a worthy remake. Like it's one of the
Yeah,
few where I can say that it's good.
I agree with that.
I will tell you why I think it's better. And I understand, like, look, I'm an 80s kid, but I was born in 84. A lot of the stuff I seen, like, Rasad, I saw a New Nightmare in the theater. I had a different experience, but, to
Okay.
each your own. But, like, to me, I like this one better, and I'll tell you why. I respect because you wouldn't have the other Texas Chainsaw Massacres, of course, without the original. I respect what they did, but in all actuality, when you really look at that film, how many kills are actually in it? How much gore is there? That movie is not about the gore and the kills like the '03 is for like gore hounds out there. It's more about that tension, that unease right till the ending. Because if you really look at the kill count, maybe 3 people die in that whole entire movie,
Right.
and it's sporadically towards the end. And I think
That's what it was supposed to do, right? So that's why I'm saying, like, if someone says they feel like it's just as good as the original, I can get down with that, because like I said, it is a very damn good remake. But in
like,
terms
bro,
of
when
better,
she took that gun from and she blew her brains out at the beginning, like that chick, like, bro, that's what, for me, that was one of the best setups I've seen in a horror movie, because
That gun
if,
was
like,
wet as hell, yo.
yo, it was good. I'm with you on that. If you prefer it over it, I get it. But I just, like, to me, to be fair, I'm like, I don't think I would say that one is better than the other, because you're dealing with a rare tie scenario that for each way that you could say one is better, you can do that with the other one just as much in different ways.
Well, let me ask this. Wait, let me ask this. In the 03 version, was people passing out in the theater? Were people getting up and walking out because they couldn't take how scary it was? Nah. The OG, the OG left a bigger impression
who left
on the
my
horror
theater. There were
genre.
some people who threw up, especially when she. There were some people. I heard this dude. So I was in the back, and I heard this dude when she pulled the gun out, and he goes, "What's that bitch doing? What the fuck?"
No, but Zod, the point I'm making is the OG changed the game. It changed the horror genre. It changed.
But you can say that people were passing out for fucking Paranormal Activity, and nothing happens in that movie.
That's a good point, though. It did usher in some new things and whatnot, and just like kind of broke the boundaries.
My uncle, he saw that movie in the theater, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He was like, people were just fucking shocked. It was just like, what the fuck?
And to show you, wait a minute, and Zod, real quick, and to show you how effective it was, you didn't even need to see the kills, because a lot of times it left it to your imagination, like Jaws, where your imagination is worse than what you saw on the screen. So
I can see that because
what my uncle was saying.
Yeah.
That's exactly
I can see that, because when we talk about these older movies, it's like I always wondered, like, what would it be like to actually go to see Nosferatu opening night in the 1920s? Obviously, we would have
been like, that shit is silly, but back then people were probably passing out.
Yeah, they probably shitting themselves.
Not, because when I saw Nosferatu as a kid, okay, my cousins thought I was gonna say it was silly, but I was captivated by it, because it was like, wait, they're not really talking, and like, he looks kind of creepy. Like, I was captivated by that shit. I didn't think it was silly at all. I think it's more effective than a lot of movies.
Coming out by
yeah, I'm hyped for that. But to wrap things up, because I don't want to just go longer than it needs to. But real quick, right? Terrence and Zod. I'll go with Zod first. What's a horror movie sequel you think should have been made by now, or should be made? Go.
For fuck's sake, give me another, like, my channel. I cover everything. Friday the 13th. For fuck's sake, the rights have been sorted out. If you guys don't know, and this is why I wanted to come on your channel, Perp, to actually talk about this, because I do know. I've been following this for fucking years. So the two people who wrote it and the studios got into a war. It was settled with the studios, but then the two creators had a back and forth, and they were in court. So it tied up everything. That's what happened with the game and why it got decommissioned. It wasn't because nobody was playing. It was because they lost the rights, because of the owners of the rights. And so finally, supposedly, this shit has all been settled. So where the fuck is my Friday the 13th movie? For fuck's sake, I'm going through withdrawals. I saw that walking simulator to get the same fucking feeling.
The walking simulator.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So don't get me wrong, it was a good movie, but it was a fucking walking simulator.
So Friday the 13th is yours. All right, Terrence, go. What's a sequel that you of a horror movie that you want to see or should have been made or whatever?
Is it okay if I have 3 of them?
Just narrow it down to 2. Just give me one. Actually, just give me one.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, I guess out of the 3 that I went with the most, I would say 13 Ghosts.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I get that.
Yes.
Matthew Lillard is still around.
Good pick.
Yes.
Good pick.
That's all you need to say. That's all you need to say. That's all you need to say, bro. No more.
That was
That's all you
perfect.
need to say.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
13 goes.
That's a mic drop right there.
That
Did I
should
give
have
my
been, you know,
answer?
say Mike Flanagan. Let's let Mike Flanagan do like a series or you know what I'm saying, a whole movie. Get that, make that happen, Hollywood. All right.
Word.
So last thing, and then we're gonna close out. Um, what are some horror movie sequels that you are looking forward to? Obviously, me, I'm looking forward to Terrifier 3. You know what I'm saying? That just I don't know, something about that movie I feel like it's gonna be massive. It just feels massive.
Mm-hmm.
No Diddy. Um and
Really?
Smile 2. I would say Smile 2 to an extent, even though like every time I see the trailer, I was like, yo, is this trap? Like, cause I just feel like the same songs
Bro,
they're
that
playing.
fucking movie was a trap.
Yeah, I
Yes.
thought.
Dude,
When
I
I
love
saw
M.
Smile
Night
One, I
Shyamalan,
thought they
and this
read
is
some
why I love
Batman
his
comics.
movies, because you never know what you're gonna get. But bro, I even said that in my review. Like, I loved it. I gave it a decent score more than most people, but I was like, bro,
I
that
was
was a
not
straight
vibing with it.
advertisement for your
But
daughter.
yeah, but for me it's Terrifier 3 for the rest of the year. Next year, what is on the slate next
What's
year?
even? I don't even know what's coming out. Like, I don't even know what sequels is coming out. To be honest with you.
What, this year or just in general?
Yeah, well, yeah, the rest of this year and next year also.
I know,
besides
just
Terrifier
off the
3.
top of my head, they're making another VHS movie. It's going to be more sci-fi, sci-fi based. That's coming out next month.
Fuck that franchise.
Terrifier 3, Smile 2, Nosferatu's well, that's not a sequel, but uh, I had to relook at the list because I know there's a bunch of stuff coming out in October. Because it's a lot. But yeah, Rashad, what are you looking forward to next? For the most part,
The obvious Terrifier 3, like that. That's it, and that's all. Like that, I need that in my life because horror hasn't really been doing bad this year, but I think there's been more misses than hits. You know what I
I
mean?
disagree.
I disagree with that. I don't know what movies, but I've seen a lot. Like, my horror list is a lot full than my top 10 movies. My top 10 horror list is gonna be fucking tough. My top 10 movies this year is gonna be rough.
But you like it's okay for you to feel like that because I feel like a lot of people had high expectations for a lot of movies, and a lot of movies ended up being disappointing for a lot of people.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
for me, I feel like a lot of the 2024 horror movies, or just movies in general, so like certain ones will grow with people over time.
right.
But what I like about it is it's continuing the trend of like we're getting a lot of original horror movies still. You know,
Yeah,
for the
I mean,
most part.
because
So I think that's good. So.
Well, because nothing's really blew me. I mean, besides Late Night with the Devil and Oddity, so far, like those, like the two best horror movies to me. But nothing's really blew me away this year. Besides
Bro,
those
you
two.
didn't see Longlegs, did you? Because that
Man,
movie for me.
that movie was.
See, now
useless.
I love Longlegs.
We're gonna scrap. 'Cause that's like my number one right now for the year, and nothing.
Okay.
thrown it.
Zod, what's the next horror movie or the horror movie sequel that you're looking forward to the most? And then it could be the near future, the far future.
Okay, so for the near, I would say, without a doubt, well, 2, Terrifier and Smile 2, because I like the setting of Smile 2. I think that's going to be more interesting with like a pop star. I think they can do some creative, nasty kind of kills with that. But definitely Terrifier 3's been on my hype list. I already had Alien Romulus, and that was my anticipated film. So, I mean, I already had mine, but Terrifier 3 is the big one, and I know that now my daughter wants to go and see that, so like a good dad, I'm going to take her to see that.
Okay.
And then in the future, Camp Crystal Lake, the series. I am
okay. Yeah. I'm looking forward to Derry. On the flip side of things, I'm looking forward to Derry. That looks promising. We'll have to wait and see. Like HBO started to kind of get their shit together and kind of getting some momentum with the
dude,
they got the Dune series.
Blow up.
They got the Dune series coming out in November, so it's like, yeah, they got a bunch of stuff coming in the works. So
Dude, HBO is gonna be what they used to be again. It's gonna
They
be
need
like
to.
Sopranos, Game of Thrones. You guys remember those lineups like Sopranos, and they
The
had
Wire.
Boardwalk Empire.
hmm
You
Boardwalk
know what I'm saying?
Empire. Yeah,
The Wire.
Tales
Yeah,
from
The
Tales
Wire,
from the
yeah.
Crypt. Don't forget about that.
yeah, yeah.
Tales
yeah.
from the
That
Crypt,
needs to
yeah.
come back as well.
Yes, sir.
Terrence, what horror movie are you looking forward to? Sequel or saying coming up next?
Yeah, that's a big question for Terrence because I've been telling humans there's a difference between movies that are great versus stuff that I care about, right? It's not the same
Mhm.
thing, not all the time. So for me, really only two, like right now and then in the near future at the moment, based upon what I know is out and what I know is coming out. So first
Mhm.
it would be Terrifier 3, and then in the future Scream 7. Those are the only two horror films that I care about
Okay.
at the moment that I'm actually excited about. That
Bro,
so
how can okay? I gotta ask from like a perspective, like how could you still be excited about that movie after all the bullshit that had? Like for me,
be
and I don't even care
It
about
don't matter
so
because you got Sydney back and you got old boy writing and
it. That's a
directing.
so, so
folks don't fall for it. It's desperation. That's
okay,
so desperate.
here's the
I
thing,
want to
Zai.
finish the first story.
Zai,
Have my
here's the thing,
popcorn.
right? Now, the movie will be whatever it's gonna be, but it's just I do love that franchise, and I'm excited that Sydney is back because she's one of the goats. So I'm very excited about that, despite what happened with the other two actresses. Sometimes in life, but to me, Sydney, like you don't have none of that shit without her. So I'm glad that she's back, and I'm excited at
And,
the possibility of something being good. And then with
See, I
Terrifier 3, it's just I
and
so
with Melissa and Jenna, or like just like Melissa, I feel like they'll probably be able to iron that out over time if they're able to fix things and mend things for Nev, because she was pretty much out, after after 5. They were
yeah,
trying to
because
do
they
some
wouldn't
funny
pay
shit.
her
So
money and shit. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, but with Terrifier, I feel like with Terrifier, the first one I was okay with. I like the second one more. So because
yep.
I
Mm,
like the
I
second one more, I'm more excited about 3. Because at first, like before I watched 2, it was like if they keep making them, I will watch them because I love movies, and then there's going to be a curiosity of what art does next. But I would
mhm.
prefer to actually enjoy it, which is to me very important that I enjoy what I'm watching.
Yeah. Eh,
So because I enjoy too, I think that from a movie and storytelling standpoint, that 3 is possible that it could be the best one of the 3.
Yeah,
So
most definitely. There's a lot of things stars on, and I already know he wants to make a fourth one. That'll be like the final one.
Mm-hmm.
Either Terrifier 3, I think, will definitely elevate the franchise and just art even more, especially it being in Christmas and stuff like that. And if it really delivers, you know what I'm saying, like on, saying the story or just in general the kills, or it becomes this massive hit. You know what I'm saying? I definitely like between 3 and 4. I think that's where it will, then once the dust settles and stuff, like it'll just keep growing in popularity and stuff like that. And I like that Damien said like he doesn't want to go too far because he feels like that was a lot of the mistakes of a lot of 80s slashers. They just kept going, just kept going, just kept going. They just really didn't have a definitive end. And so I like that he has that in mind, that he has a definitive end. But
Mm-hmm.
also
Bro,
he's
look at
also
great shows
open.
like Breaking Bad and shit like that. When you map stuff
Mhm.
out, it turns out well. When you
Facts.
don't,
Yeah.
Yeah.
then you have a
or
train wreck.
at least we hope it does, right? Because more
Yeah.
often than not, they don't stick the landing. But to me, even if you so with 4 films, let's just say that the fourth one they just fuck it up somehow. I'm like, that's still 3 out of the 4, so that's still a good franchise.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
still if you could
Yeah.
watch 3 out of the 4 movies, and I mean I would even argue with even the bad Jason movies, I could watch them, so I don't count it as an L. Like I could sit down and have fun with them. They're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
not very good.
And
Like
with
I
Terrifier,
will
like
take a
they're
like
all with Terrifier, they're all kind of like the divisive anyway. So it doesn't really, like, I don't think he really cares. You know what I'm saying? Like you're gonna have people. It's always gonna find its fan base. Some people that were like kind of on the fence with Terrifier 2. Now after watching like the trailer for 3, it's like, oh, I want to kind of go back and revisit that and just see how it holds up and whatnot. And I
But I
just
Yeah.
feel
think
like
that's
these
why it's
movies
gonna
are going to
make.
hold up. Yeah, these movies are going to hold up really well over time.
I
I feel like.
I
No,
just I
I agree
think
with
it.
you, Perp. I
Yeah,
think
I just
that
I prefer a good like I prefer between the two. Like I would rather have a bad movie that's entertaining versus a good movie that I don't like because like a lot of the
Interesting.
horror movies that you've been talking about, Perp, for me, I haven't enjoyed them like that, but a lot of them are good, but I'm looking for what Terrence likes. You know what I mean? That's a
Yeah,
different
yeah,
discussion.
yeah. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It comes down to that goes back down to preference. Like when we bring up like Long Legs, I like the psychological aspect of that movie. I feel like that's very effective. Or something like Strange Darling, where it's just like it's super fast paced
dude,
and
Strange Darling was
they
great.
they they tell the story in like out of order and stuff and just doing different things, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And that's why I really like about a lot of this new horror, because it's like you got to take risk, you got to be able to take risk, and even if it's something that people do not like, if it's like in violent nature, it's like at least you give it a try. And I feel like that's why so many people in Hollywood are afraid to take chances. We don't get nothing new, or you know what I'm saying, we get the same old
Oh
shit.
yeah,
Like you
But
got to kind of
these are the things
there's
that
a
are
whole lot of
divisive.
fear in Hollywood.
yeah,
A
yeah.
But
whole lot.
even
But
the
with that,
things that are divisive are still making money. I mean, Late Night with the Devil had controversies, but let me tell you, and to Rasad's point, and this is the only thing that's contending with Long Legs. To be honest with you, they've been going back and forth. Late Night with the Devil. I sat down. Now, Bitchy is not a fan of horror like I am whatsoever. She's very, very, very particular. Like we went to see it in a violent nature, and she was getting actually legitimately pissed off with the movie. It was a bad experience. And so I was getting pissed off because I was like, "Come on, man! Like you're ruining just the fun for me." But I got her point because she's hitting it from the common, like she's not in the genre like we are. So, but for me, Late Night with the Devil, dude, I've watched that movie stoned, I've watched it
Yeah,
drunk, I've watched it sober, and
it's a
every
great
Damn.
time
movie.
God
very
it
damn.
effective.
hit.
Very
It just
effective.
hits. Like me, I remember I go, honey, you gotta watch this with me. She doesn't like found footage. She doesn't very rarely like horror. And she sat there and we've watched it like 3 or 4 times. She loves the movie. She
Yeah.
thinks it's like David Dismalchian. If he doesn't get a fucking award sometime, like
He's gonna be
that
popping up in
performance.
One Piece as well too. So like, that's dope.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, David Dalsmachian is always good. Like even when he was
Yeah,
doing the stuff in Gotham and the Flash and shit, I was telling humans like this is a good actor. Just
Bro,
already knew.
yes, yes, he's been out there for years, and I think that like I'm proud that Late Night with the Devil did as good as because he should get some shine because he's so. And I was watching a thing on him, and he was talking about in Hollywood they didn't want to give him roles because of his look. Like,
Right,
just imagine.
right.
Yeah, he was talking about because of
he
his
do look like kind of goofy. He do got kind of goofy look
well,
though.
and
Right,
Christopher Walken said the same thing. Like, there's
Mhm.
people,
right.
their looks will make it so they only get so far. So when he gets these
Oh
breakout
yeah, that's the
roles,
nature of the business. Yeah, that's how that
Mhm.
shit works. The same thing with
exactly.
age. Like if you're a certain age, like you ain't getting certain roles. They gonna be like, nah. Like so, it's all part of that puzzle. But like to me, what sold me on him for sure, even though I liked him in Gotham and the Flash and all that, was when he was in that new MacGyver series with Lucas Till, and he played one of the main villains in there. I was like, this right here, if this don't convince humans, I don't know what will, because he killed it as
Yeah, he
Murdoch,
does
I
a good
believe the
job.
villain was. Like he killed it as that Murdoch character. That shit was insane.
He's a good actor, yeah, for sure. That's what I'm saying. Like and like I said, he's an anime fan, so for him to get to take a role on One Piece, that's pretty big. Like they're getting a lot of like noticeable names and stuff like that. And
Bro,
and
bro, let me
I'm
tell
just
you something.
I'm always gonna be down to watch anything he's in. So it's like,
Let me tell you something. Like, I know that's a different topic, but let me tell you something. As far as Netflix adaptations, One Piece is probably the closest we're gonna get to them actually not fucking it up.
yeah, yeah,
And like, I like
because
the
it's
anime, but it's too fucking long. Like,
because the well, that's why they're making a remake and that's why they're making a remake. And Oda like oversees all that stuff, so like that's why he doesn't like nothing leaves the cutting room floor with him saying like no, like And that's how it
Bro,
should be with anything, whether it be like these IPs, horror related things, and you know what I'm saying, to like kind of just wrap things up. But you know, it's going to be interesting to see like the next few years of horror, which will be the kind of the theme of the next episode, the next big decade of horror, which I think the 2020s are like I think it could be argued that it's going to end up being one of the best decades for horror
I
and whatnot.
definitely agree with you. Like this, dude. I thought like we had the period though in the early 2000s where horror was kind of in a rough place,
Hmm.
but I think one thing about horror that endures over time is I feel like to this day, Hollywood still doesn't give horror its flowers. They still are
Hmm.
snobbish and prudish. They'll fucking nominate a fucking Marvel movie for an award before they'll do a horror film.
But you know,
Yeah,
but you know what's
they don't
crazy?
even
You
want
know
to do
how
that.
hard it is.
But you know what's crazy though? Like it's like 100 years from now, horror as a genre will be more relevant
Right.
Yep,
than comic
100
book
facts.
You know
movies.
100.
why? Because humans are scared of shit. And as long as
Yeah,
humans are scared of shit, you can make money off of that shit. That's how
Yeah.
that works.
People,
and
people.
that's a great way. That's a great segue to just end this because I don't want to go too long and stuff. I still want to keep it like an hour and a half type deal. But we could continue this discussion in episode 3. Tune in this Saturday, same time, 10 p.m. Eastern. I'm gonna send y'all some links. So if y'all want to join again, we could, chop it up once again. I appreciate anybody that's checking out the replay or checked out live. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you hit that like button if you're new, subscribe, follow all these fine gentlemen here. You know what I'm saying? Go check out Rashad G's channel. You know what I'm saying? Go check out Zod. Go check out Terrence. You know what I'm saying? Until next time, I will see y'all in the next one.
Peace.